This was my league starter in Crucible League, and maybe I will start with this again in Trial of the Ancestors. It was really easy to get through the Octs, scaled pretty well in the late game, also it was really cheap as well. What's up guys, Pidget here. Let's see what things we got on the damage side. Our skill choice is Explosive Trap. You will throw traps and this will explode 8 or 10 times, depends you have the Helm enchantment or not. Or the explosion can hit the same enemy. This is where our DPS coming from and the number of traps. When you look at the path of building, you can set how many explosions hitting the target. Thanks the community for this. It's good to see this. I'm set it to average explosions because most of the enemy has a small hitbox. The build can now use 2 curses thanks to the extra curse node on the tree, namely Assassin Mark. This will increase the critical chance and critical damage the target take, and Flammability. This will lower the enemy fire resistance, and we applying this with a one single button, Arcanist Brand. We can easily generate power and frenzy charges if our enemies is triggering the traps. We also taking the Trickster for extra 2 maximum frenzy charge. With this we can have 5 frenzy charge, and we pairing with charge trap support to get our trap throwing speed fast as possible. I have a bad news for those who don't like the gem swapping. You need gem swap for tougher bosses because we're using cluster trap and increased area effect for clear. We also have a big problem, and that's the mana. Our traps is very expensive mana wise, so we need use mana flask till we get the flat mana cost reduction on our rings and amulet. On the defensive side, using Grace Aura for evasion rating, so we almost can die from the monster's basic attacks or projectiles. Because we using Grace, we can use Ghost Dance Keystone. When we take a hit, we will recover 3% of our evasion rating as energy shield, and we can do this 3 times in a row before the stacks recharge. We will not use Determination. Last league they nerfed the Molten Shell, because now to benefit from this guard skill like before the patch, you need double amount of armor in your build, which is almost impossible for a Trickster. So from now we will be using Immortal Core for our guard skill with cost 1 damage taken. The gameplay is still very comfy without any phys reduction, because we have more than 70% chance to evade the enemy attacks. Last league I played this version and I completed my Atlas, beat all endgame bosses without armor on my character. You can check out my channel for the last league showcases. Now we almost can be touched by physical attacks, only danger left for us is the spell damage, but we have a solution for this. Using spell suppression from the tree, and we have 84% suppression alone from the tree, so the remaining percent is easy to cap. It's league start, so we can stress our items with fancy stuff. Because we choose Trickster, we have accessed a really interesting node, one step ahead. This will lower the enemy action speed, and if we pairing with Summon Skitter, the enemy will move like a snail, giving us enough time to react. Also worth to mention, with Trickster we get a cycling defensive layer. Every 5 seconds we take less damage from hits, and the other 5 seconds we take less damage from damage over time effects. I did not have any problem with that, because I designed the build the way if your hit damage taken is not up, you can also tank almost anything. So when you take a hit and the big damage reduction buff is up, you will be just happy about it. I did not wanted to watch the top left of the screen when you can tank or when not. So I just wanted to let you know you don't have to worry about this. I would like if you hit the like button like the Shaper hitting the Elder, so it can start spread to more people. Thank you! Because it's league start, we can't have big items in the first day of the league. That's why we have very basic items in the list here. Only one item worth to mention, and that's the weapon. This is a very solid item for the price. It will carry you till the red maps or even beyond. The other very surprising thing, we will not use life mod on our body armor, because we got a mastery which is giving us 15% maximum life if our body armor doesn't have life mod. So we can use energy shield and evasion rating prefixes on our body armor. The other big changes for our tree, we got back the mana reservation mastery as mana mastery. This is why we are allocating the mind reeker and taking mana mastery increase mana reservation efficiency of skills. Also worth to mention Flasks. Because we have to use a mana flask, this is the easiest way to sustain our mana, because Trickster doesn't have access high life regen like Saboteur, so we can't use the life depth support and reserve all of our mana. There is no easier way to do this. You have to get this mod on on the mana flask. Effect is not removed when unreserved mana is filled. With that you will still get mana when your mana bar is filled, and you can just spam your traps without any issues. I just want to highlight a few things on the passive tree. The tree is building itself, but in the early levels your main goal is to allocate Assassination, Saboteur, Will of Blades and Expeditious Munitions. Worth to stop here and take the Snowforge node and the Mastery. 3% chance for hits to deal 300% of physical damage as extra of a random element. I think it's really worth because our traps deal physical damage as well, and the trap exploding 8 times, so this is a really big damage increase for us. We're taking Trickster as our Ascendancy. In your first lap, take Swift Killer. There is nothing really to tell about this, just extra frenzy charges. Second lap, one step ahead. This will increase your action speed, so you will move faster and throw traps faster. You can swap these two if you want, so you can complete the leveling faster. Third lap, Polymath. Sadly, from this node we only gaining the more damage parts. The others does not applying to us, because the traps killing the enemies, not we. Last lap, Herstopper. This is our cycling defensive part. I have zero issue with this node, because I planned out the build the way if you don't have the hit damage reduction, you still can tank the most of the endgame bosses without any problem. When you are dealing the bandits quest, you helping Alira because the mana regen and the elemental resistance and the crit multiplier is really valuable in the early leveling. When you have good gear, you can swamp clear to all. Pantheons we using Major for mopping Soul of Lunaris for the extra movement speed and a little bit of physical damage reduction. The more enemy near you, the more movement speed and the damage reduction will be up to 8%. When you're doing bigger boss fights, you switch Soul of Solaris. It gives us a little extra damage reduction and chance to reduce the damage from area effects. Minor get Soul of Garukan, 60% reduce effect of shock on you. Gem and Gemlink, starting with our main link in our body armor, explosive trap, odd that fire damage, concentrated effect, swift assembly, charged traps, and inspiration. When you doing maps, you swapping out the swift assembly, cluster trap, concentrated effect to increased area effect. Our aura setup in our helmet, we have a little flexibility here. You can use vitality to fight against the ground degens from the monsters, or just go pure damage and using Herald of Ash. It's up to you. So our aura setup in our helmet, summon skitterbots, grace, unbound animents for increase the shock and chill effect from the skitterbots, vitality, or Herald of Ash. It's up to you again. In our boots or cast when damage taken setup, cast when damage taken, increased duration, immortal core, and bear trap. In our gloves or curse setup, assassin mark, flammability, Arcanist brand. We are applying these two curses with Arcanist brand. Flame dash, this is our movement skill. We have another movement skill setup, shield charge and faster attack and clarity, level 5. I hope you enjoyed this video about Explosive Trap Trickster League Starter. If you have any question, let me know in the comment section below. Also, I would like to say thank you to my Patreons to supporting me. Thanks again guys. Thanks for watching, I was Pidget, see you next time.